Am I tripping, or is there a Latifah verse of romantic comedies that we have all seen? Hi, my name is Pyrus, and I have a ton of niche interests that those closest to me are tired of hearing about, so I created an entire series on YouTube for the sole purpose of discussion. Intros out of the way, today we're going to discuss The Last Holiday and Black women's on-screen relationship with wealth. The Last Holiday stars the gorgeous, talented, award-winning actress and producer Queen Latifah as Georgia Bird. Georgia lives in Louisiana and works as a cookware sales associate at a Kragen's department store, and by all accounts, Georgia is a bit of an introvert and keeps to herself, sticking to her routine of work, church, and home. At church, Georgia is a member of the choir, and they are hard at work in practice because their senator, Senator Dillings, will be visiting them this Sunday. However, it would seem that even in a setting where projection and being heard is the objective, Georgia still struggles, and this garners the attention of her choir director, who promptly calls her out in front of everyone.
Hold it. Georgia, Sister Abernathy is singing 3 times as loud as you, and she just had her tonsils out, sugar. How you gonna account for that?
He could have pulled Georgia to the side. I understand wanting to make a good appearance for the senator, but would he have truly noticed Georgia in her own zone amongst a flock of hooters and hollerers? At work, Georgia gives weekly sales demonstrations of Kragen's cookware catalog. These Wednesday morning sales demos attract quite the crowd to the department store that looks pretty dead otherwise. Georgia also has a work crush on Sean, a sales rep from what I assume is the outdoor garden department. These two obviously like one another but don't know how to convey or act on their feelings, so instead of outright flirting, Georgia takes to buying grills that she doesn't truly want just to have an excuse to speak with the man.
I wanted to ask you something.
Ask me what?
Do you think I get my store discount if I buy this thing?
At home, Georgia can be herself, kinda. You see, Georgia Bird does not just work in the cookware department, she is also a mighty fine chef as well. Within the confines of her home, Georgia effortlessly recreates meals from Emerald Live, a cooking program that stars Emerald Lagasse that ran in the early 2000s.
Bread pudding with onions, with sweet corn and andouille sausage. Okay? Oh yeah, because the poulet, chapatulas with the bread pudding. Bam!
There is a bit of a catch though. You see, Georgia makes these beautiful meals that would make Gordon Ramsay weep, but she doesn't eat them. Instead, Georgia plates them, takes a photo, and then places the photo in her book of possibilities. A scrapbook that Georgia has repurposed to serve as her book of wants, desires, and manifestations. Georgia's hesitation to indulge in her own cooking is an indicator of just how much she is limiting her own fulfillment. By opting for lean cuisine in place of a delectable and so darn good-looking home-cooked meal, Georgia never fully dives into her passion for culinary arts. Within the walls of her home, the only place Georgia is able to unwind and be herself is in her book of possibilities. The food that Georgia makes does not go to waste though. Instead, she generously invites over her neighbor Darius, a middle school age boy who does not play about Georgia Bird. I would like to say though, Darius does not deserve the meals that Georgia Bird was chefing up in that kitchen. Middle schoolers think that Takis are the pinnacle of fine dining and breathing to this day. Darius is probably gonna have the palate of a Hell's Kitchen contestant by the time he graduates high school. Anyways, Darius is being nosy while Georgia is cleaning up some food she spilled on herself and flips through the book of possibilities and arguably sees the absolute worst page anyone could ever land on. Georgia Bird was on some yandere with this one.
This is for all my baby girls. I see your comments, ladies, and they make me smile. I'm lurking and I'm stalking when you least expect.
Georgia, after being questioned, tells Darius of her crush on Sean and makes him promise not to tell anyone. It's really wholesome. It's really cute.
Oh, his name is Sean. Sean Williams.
Sean Williams, huh?
And you better not say anything to anybody.
I ain't.
During her Wednesday morning demonstration, Georgia is serving food, truly living out her TV chef fantasy when she's interrupted by her manager, Mr. Adamian. A little on Mr. Adamian. Mr. Adamian is akin to your basic, bland, beer-billed, butter-faced, boot-licking, breadcrumb-sucking manager that inhabits much of corporate America today. Mr. Adamian is played up to be obnoxious and willfully ignorant or wholly oblivious to anything that doesn't contribute to his company's numbers. I'm astonished that we as an audience are able to comprehend what Mr. Adamian is saying because for all of his screen time, he has his boss, Matthew Kragen's in his throat. Matthew Kragen is a retail magnate who is the CEO of the Kragen's department store. He lives by a motto, enough is never enough. And you would think that Mr. Adamian has that shit stamped on his lower back the way he's acting like Kragen's. Mr. Adamian informs Georgia that he is putting an end to the sales demos, stating that the company needs to cut down on cost. This saddens Georgia, as I'm sure the demos were her favorite part of her job with her passion of culinary arts in mind. As Georgia is packing up her leftovers, Sean happens upon her, and the two share a sweet moment where he gives Georgia her flowers and praises the mere smell of her cooking. Georgia had his ass like Tom and Jerry. This sweet moment is cut short when Georgia unexpectedly hits her head on an open cabinet door. And if you pay close attention, she actually closes this cabinet door quite a few times, indicating she's aware that it's faulty. This is a hint to the low-quality products that a Kragen's provides, because how many corners do you have to cut for a cabinet door to not want to close? They love doing that. Georgia is whisked away by Sean, and this is probably the strangest thing I've ever seen because the department store is connected to the company's clinic. I've never seen or heard anything like this, but I don't be going outside for real, so you guys have to let me know if that's normal. This is when we realize Matthew Kragen is either ambitious, greedy, or both. The front desk of the Kragen clinic sports a sleek, modern design, while the back of the clinic is drab and lackluster. The clinic is even equipped with used medical equipment, a reckless corner to cut for the sake of saving money. Dr. Gupta urges Mr. Damien to get Georgia a CT scan, which is at first protested due to concerns about expenses, until Dr. Gupta mentions potential workers' compensation repercussions. This is enough to scare the bootlicker into compliance, as the fear of losing money for the corporation was seen as far less favorable than the concern for the health of another human being, much less an employee for said corporation. Georgia gets her CT scan, and the results send Dr. Gupta into shock. He requests Georgia come back for a second scan, but this scan is, for lack of better words, the nail in Georgia's coffin. Dr. Gupta confirms the worst. Well, actually, he doesn't. Instead, we see how wholly unqualified he is for this position, as he is unable to deliver the prognosis to Georgia.
Well, which one do I have if not the harmless one?
Ma'am, I'm very sorry to tell you that, but
Why?
you see, in my opinion, it's the kind that, ma'am, please, this is very, very difficult for me. Oh dear, I need to lie down.
Instead, he seeks the aid of another doctor who delivers the news that Georgia's scan reveals that she has a terminal illness called Lampington's. And without medical intervention, she has only 3 weeks left to live.
I'm afraid, in your condition, you've got about 3 weeks to live.
What? I got 3 weeks to live? Are you shitting me?
Upon seeing her insurance specialist, Georgia learns that the company HMO plan will not cover her procedure that cost a whopping well over Georgia's savings in bonds that amount about to $65,000. Thank you, Zach Moser, by the way. Without this article, my childhood question of how much money did Georgia Bird have would have gone unanswered. Georgia is essentially left to die, and while drowning her sorrows in a bottle of wine, she flips through her book of possibilities.
I really wanted to meet you. I should have ate that.
She realizes that she has not accomplished any of her dreams in her pages. Regret swells in her heart as she calls her sister, who is too busy with her own children and goals, to inquire about her sister's gloom. The next day at work, Georgia goes to speak with Mr. Damien about what's going on with her, but her attempts at conversation are met with deaf ears. Her manager could truly care less about Georgia's predicament. He shows this by answering the phone mid-conversation.
Just turn it off.
Yeah.
And encouraging Georgia to focus on business.
This is not about you, okay? It's not about me. It's about business.
When Georgia has had enough, she quits on the spot, getting pushback from her boss, who quickly says,
You can't.
Why can't I?
Fourth quarter sales are in the toilet in this store and all the other stores too, for that matter. Your department has the highest profit record in the place. I can't afford to lose you.
Meaning, Georgia has been excelling past her peers and her writing boss, despite her toxic work environment, and was a top performer while all the others were struggling. His reason for keeping this information from Georgia was money. He didn't want Georgia to ask her for her well-deserved pay raise. This is the bleed out of the Kragen mentality, as Kragen is focused on cutting costs, and a pay raise for an employee that deserves it would be too much for the millionaire. Georgia leaves, quitting her job and never looking back. Much to her surprise, though, Sean is outside. He's been waiting to bump into her to ask her on a date to a game that's a couple of weeks away. Georgia declines, not exposing that she has just been diagnosed with a terminal illness that will take her life in just 3 weeks' time. The scene with Georgia at the church is one of the most somber and gut-wrenching scenes in the film. There's a woman who has just been prescribed a death date. Her ability to mask her pain and confusion disappears as she steps away from the choir. Georgia finally asks the question she's so far been afraid to ask. Why?
Oh, dear Lord. Why me?
Georgia?
Why me, Lord? Why me, Lord?
Oh, dear Lord. Lord, why me?
The question falls from her lips and is met with applause, deaf ears, and a rupture of voices echoing the same question back to her. Why? A congregation of voices who have no doubt asked the same question once before sings back to Georgia. No one in that church knew that just in 3 weeks' time, Georgia would no longer walk amongst them. Georgia was a dead woman walking in Louisiana. This scene in my opinion, is where Georgia steps into her own. Georgia, a quiet black woman who at the start of the film could barely be heard over the choir, makes her pain known. She refuses to suffer in silence for the sake of maintaining an image. She allows her pain and anger to be visible and undeniable. In the house of worship, Georgia takes her concern to the highest authority she knows, God. Georgia questions God and the divine plan for her life. She laments her devotion and her confusion at her misfortune. It is at this moment that she stops waiting to live, as that has gotten her nowhere. She will now live for herself and define her own fate. Georgia goes home and decides to take that book of possibilities and make it a reality. She takes all of her money out of her accounts and flies to the Czech Republic to stay at the Grand Hotel Poop, a hotel she long ago placed in that same book of possibilities. Upon arriving to Karlovy Vary, she sees that there will be a wait for transportation. Seeing as she has no time to waste with her diagnosis heavy on her mind, she takes a helicopter and lands on the roof of the hotel, sparking instant intrigue at her grand entrance. The hotel is fancy, and Georgia immediately stands out in a lobby full of dressed-to-the-nines rich folk. A bellhop assists her with her bags and notices that she is from Louisiana. He informs her that the senator from Louisiana, who was supposed to be at church on Sunday, is there at the hotel. She remarks that that's why he didn't make it to the meeting.
Louisiana? Your Senator Dillings, he here now, skiing.
Senator Dillons is here skiing?
Yes.
Well, that explains why he didn't make it to our meeting on Sunday.
And this starts a rumor that Georgia Bird knows the senator personally. When going to check into her room, she discovers that her room will not be ready for 2 more hours. Again, with limited time, she requests another room. The only available room is the presidential suite, priced at around $4,000 a night, to which Georgia says, light work, no reaction.
Did you see me blink?
This again fuels the running imagination of Georgia being ridiculously loaded. On top of that, the man for whom enough is never enough is also staying at this luxurious hotel.
Mr. Cragen, would you sign my book?
Yes.
Matthew Cragen.
After settling in, undergoes a dress-up montage. She allows herself to have fun with her fashion. Georgia goes from drab cardigans to bold fashion, and the change is night and day. Georgia is radiant in all of her outfits in this film. Georgia treats herself the entire trip, allowing herself to speak her mind and act freely for the last days of her life. This garners admiration from hotel staff and guests alike, the guidance of Chef Didier, one of Georgia's favorite chefs, and attracts the jealous eye of the CEO at the top of the world, Matthew Cragen. This is also where our video starts for the most part. I'm unsure if you guys would like a full recap of the film, so please let me know in the comments below if you guys want that in the future. I return to this film a lot, and by a lot, I mean I've probably seen this film over 100 times, and that may sound like an exaggeration to you, but it's generous. There was a time in my life where this was the only film that I owned on DVD, no Wi-Fi, just Queen Latifah. Despite me seeing this film so many times, even now as I express my innermost thoughts to you and rewatch this film for research, I'm amused and find myself eternally captivated by this film's charms. My eyes still brim with tears when Georgia is at a loss of what to do when she first gets her diagnosis. I still grin ear to ear when she learns she is going to live.
That's what I'm gonna die. I'm gonna live. Yes!
But why? This video is my attempt to understand why I like this film so much, and an excuse to talk about it at the same time. The Last Holiday acts as a corrective to films that have excluded black women from narratives of leisurely abundance, wealth, or prestige. It is so common for films to use black women as comedic foils for their proper counterparts, or use black women as parables for the dangers of seeking wealth. The fish out of water idiom often accompanies black characters that are out of their comfort zone in new environments or around new people. Often this leads to a comedic interaction, often at the expense of the unlearned or ignorant black character.
You just turn these 2 handles right here.
The fish out of water idiom is described as the following: a person who feels awkward or unhappy because they are in a situation that is not familiar or because they are different from the people around them. Think literally every character Tiffany Haddish has played. Well, not everyone, I'll be generous.
Girl, this all this is you right here? Okay. They don't smell like roaches in here or nothing.
Or even Queen Latifah in Bringing Down the House.
You know no Kareem is yours. Why? How you gonna do me like that, Peter? You told me I was your beautiful African queen.
These characters and amplify negative black stereotypes to draw a stark contrast between the norm and the belligerence that would intrude on said normalcy. The last holiday stands out because Georgia is not once humiliated in this film. We never laugh at her expense. Instead, the film treats Georgia as a regular person, never sacrificing her dignity to make her look like a complete fool in front of these folk. Instead of the fish out of water effect at work, Georgia is comfortable in her own skin. They could have easily played up the fish out of water thing for cheap laughs, as this type of humor was doing numbers at the time, but instead, Georgia's awkwardness is her wonderment of the world around her. One example of this idiom at work for plus-size black women specifically is a scene from Big Mama's House 2 that has Big Mama at a spa, so I felt it was super appropriate. The gag of the scene is that there is a man, Martin Lawrence, in a fat suit with the hot rocks on his back, but if we zoom out and we really think about it, these people are supposed to be under the illusion that Big Mama is a real person. So with that in mind, Big Mama, a fat black woman, is disrupting the status quo in a spa full of white women. She is telling them absurd, raunchy relationship advice.
Advice? Well, all right. My advice to you lovely ladies on keeping a long-lasting, happy marriage is to give it up. That's right. Give it up morning, noon, and night.
And even ends up cannonballing into a mud bath, disrupting everyone's peace. Big Mama, a plus-size black woman, literally ends up wallowing in the mud like a pig. Compare this scene to the scene of Georgia Bird getting spa treatments. Queen Latifah is a plus-size woman, and it's not played up for laughs at her expense. Instead, Georgia is the source of the comedy, and we laugh with her. Because Brigida was beating the hell out of Georgia with that tree branch before she was checked. Homegirl was releasing some demons on her back. This film flips the script on who should be considered the fish out of water. Is it the woman who lived amongst the people, working to make ends meet, all while fattening the pockets of a CEO who cares so little that he purchases used medical equipment for his employees and customers? Or is it the elites, such as Cragen, Senator Dillings, and Congressman Bob, who are dumbfounded at the concept of a non-transactional interaction and authenticity? I would go with the latter. It's comical to us that everyone around Georgia views treating people with respect as an all-worthy thing. It's laughable that someone would view kindness as a business tactic or authenticity as a guise. It would seem that the world the rich seek to dominate and shape is one where they could not even live in comfortably. If every interaction is surface level and you're constantly on edge, is this truly a lifestyle anyone should strive for? This is why Georgia stands out. She has no interest in playing the game and assimilating with the elites. She does her own thing, and she exposes how money can lead to misery. There is a strange pattern at work when it comes to women on screen, more specifically black women on screen. Happy Black History Month every month. The relationship black women have with wealth on screen is a difficult one, and from my little library of films that I have seen, two archetypes rear their heads: the saint and the sinner. The black woman must be selfless to a fault. She will and must sacrifice either her dignity, love, desires, or morality to maintain her access to comfort or provide for others. I believe this is a branch of the strong black woman archetype. This black woman, wealth or comfort is the reward for what they have sacrificed. And how Stella got her groove back. Stella is a wealthy, successful businesswoman and a fantastic mother. However, Stella sacrifices her love life and her desires in order to maintain her position. Stella needs to get her groove back because she has lost it in her daily grind. Luxury or comfortability is transactional in this film and is a reward for her hard work and sacrifice. A darker transaction underpins Roz Baptiste's comfort in Eve's Bayou. She trades social respect and personal dignity for the material stability provided by her husband. Her lavish lifestyle is the premium paid for her willful ignorance, funded by the currency of whispered gossip, and her children's fractured perception. The black woman is either the saint or she must be a sinner.
Way to hell!
The sinner trope, in contrast, frames the pursuit of wealth as a corrupting ambition. Here, wealth is not payment for suffering, but the prize for the moral compromise. In The Family That Prays, Andrea's ruthless climb to the top is an act of assimilation and betrayal. She desires to be Mrs. Cartwright and doesn't mind meeting in shady hotels and having a secret child to reach her financial and life goal. We also see how at times ambitious women are given the sinner treatment when it suits the plot or solidifies a negative stereotype about a specific type of woman. Bianca Kittles from Welcome Home Roscoe Jenkins comes to mind. Bianca, in my opinion, was unjustly villainized in this film due to her ambition, wealth, background, and colorism. This movie is the classic dark-skinned woman bad, light-skinned woman good. Bianca is named the villain of this film due to her correct assumption that Roscoe still had feelings for his high school sweetheart. If you would like a more detailed discussion on this film, we covered it here on the channel, so please be sure to check it out later. In contrast to these transactional narratives, Last Holiday presents an alternative. A black woman living her dreams, enjoying herself, and genuinely being at peace for no other reason than to pamper her. Georgia Bird's splendor requires no grand sacrifice. She operates from a place of pure, unapologetic desire. She bass jumps for the thrill of it, orders the whole menu to fully appreciate Chef Didier's creations. She even puts senators in check for the love of the game.
I'm sorry, but I only have time for realities. Good night.
The authenticity that Georgia exudes leaves a profound impression on everyone around her. Impressions of admiration, adoration, and the bitter envy of Matthew Cragen. Before we get to Matthew Cragen, I wanted to talk about one more thing that I appreciate about this film, which are the camera angles and the colors. The camera is infatuated with Georgia Bird. The film never plays up unflattering angles for cheap laughs and prioritizes flattering and at times dreamy shots of Georgia Bird. When Georgia goes to dinner, she stuns in a red gown and a pashmina. The other guests in comparison are dressed down, more reserved in black and white attire. Their muted colors allow them to mesh seamlessly into the background, allowing for Georgia to truly stand out amongst the status quo. Georgia cannot afford to live life inside the box any longer, so if there is a dress code, she could care less. She's an anomaly to these people, and them to her, because their norm, dining at the Grand Hotel Poop, was only a dream to Georgia until now. As Georgia gets more comfortable with herself, the film shifts to warmer tones and more vibrant colors. Even in the snowy landscape of Karlovy Vary, Georgia is able to warm the hearts and wardrobes as well. We notice as an audience that the senator and the congressman wear more colorful vests under their suits. Miss Burns signifies her departure from Cragen by wearing more color, most noticeably her burgundy dress. Even Chef Didier is a little bit nicer to the people that work alongside him. This energy transforms the world around her, and my favorite example of this is the scene where Georgia and her mentor Chef Didier cook together for the New Year's feast. The two wear chef garments, and the kitchen is mostly stainless steel and pristine. However, the ingredients are alive in their color. As the two express themselves through culinary arts, the vegetables upon the cutting board create a beautiful rhythm. The open flame on the stove is the fire in Georgia's heart. The laughter the two share, the shared love for cooking, is something you cannot place in a scrapbook. Sometimes the things we need are beyond what we can fathom. Sometimes what we need cannot be placed. Life is full of moments that are meant to be savored and shared with others. This scene reminds us that even in the face of the unknown, we must embrace life and one another. These fleeting moments of happiness are life's divine delicacy. Matthew Cragen, the retail magnate, the man on top of the world, the man for whom enough is never enough, is completely stumped when Georgia Bird arrives on scene. Georgia is unapologetically herself. She says what she wants.
Hey. I don't like the way you're talking to that woman.
I'm sorry if I disturbed you, Ms. Bird. She was hurting me, though.
I don't care. You don't talk to working people that way. Now, it's plain to see what the problem is here. You got tension in your neck because you keep going down on Mr. Cragen, and he's a married man. At least this poor lady trying to work it out of here. Don't take it out on Brigitte.
Thank you.
She eats what she wants, she does whatever the hell she wants. Georgia is a challenge to a narrative that often puts women, specifically black women, in uncomfortable positions to justify their lavish lifestyles. Georgia's blackness, while not in the original script, adds a layer to this film and amplifies her already robust character. Matthew Cragen's disdain for Georgia Bird is not racist. Cragen is similar in personality to the many jaded wealthy individuals, families, and corporations we have seen throughout history and in our current time. The profit over people model isn't new, and it isn't subtle with Cragen either. He purchases used medical equipment, has a healthcare model that has a vested interest in denying claims, and fails to recognize top performers out of supposed fear of them one day replacing him. Had Georgia not been blessed and highly favored enough to win her savings back and some at the casino, she'd be financially ruined and without a job due to Cragen's negligence. Matthew Cragen is all about money. All of this to say that Cragen does not care that Georgia Bird is black, although I do feel that this adds a layer to his initial shock and awe. Matthew Cragen is pissed that Georgia Bird is working class. Georgia's crime against Matthew Cragen is her audacity to believe her voice and joy hold weight without a massive bank account to back it up. In a world ruled by Matthew Cragen's transactional logic, her authenticity is seen as a shady tactic to gain favor. She connects with people, from Chef Didier to the senator, based on who they are, not their status. This genuine connection highlights the detached nature of the corporate and political world as a detriment to true progress. To grow, we must connect, and the barriers created by wealth and the pursuit of it invites division. Reagan feels slighted because Georgia shits on the idea that only the wealthy deserve free time, attention, and extravagance. Georgia is kind where he is calculated, she is genuine where he is gross, she is a former sales rep and he is a CEO, and she still got to the top with her morals intact. This is why Cragen thought Georgia's profession was such a scandal, despite Georgia never lying about who she was. To Cragen, the worst thing a person can be is working class and within his vicinity, which again highlights his disdain for his consumer base and employees. To him, Georgia is a dollar sign, and he only wants to see her as a 1 and 0 in his bank account. The eventual breakdown is because when the mask finally drops, he thought everyone would be on his side. Instead, his group was disgusted by his attempt to expose Georgia, as they should have been. Cragen, without his money, is a miserable man that is severely lacking in several aspects of his life. He describes this in his own audiobook, which is crazy. Like, were audiobooks a thing in, 2006?
Rule 1. Life is not a popularity contest, but it is a contest. Boo-hoo, they don't like me. Rule 2. You grab that scared little loser inside you and beat the living crap out of him. Rule 3. When is enough enough? Enough is never enough.
The reason we all appreciate this film is because we have all been Georgia Bird. We have all been put in a position of having to take orders from someone who would post a hiring notice the day after your funeral. Many of us have been or are working for companies that are unfulfilling and void of true purpose outside of feeding a gluttonous machine. In this film, Matthew Cragen is a physical embodiment of capitalism. He represents how money-hungry corporations suck the life and joy out of the world around them, their consumers, and those under their employment. The Last Holiday stands out as a film that stars a black woman that does not rely on stereotypes, humiliations, and degradation to sell a story. Take is one of the many reasons I believe we enjoy this film. I believe anyone of sound mind should want to see women on screen, not having to do anything absurd or gross to be there, and that no matter when we return to the screen, should we walk away, Georgia Bird will be okay. She will not be subject to violence, fat jokes, or blatant racism. Georgia Bird will be okay. We don't just empathize with Georgia Bird. Her embrace of life compels us to ask, what would we do if our own time were limited? And then urges us to quickly look at the hard truth that our time is, in fact, limited. The film holds up a mirror, challenging us to audit our silent sacrifices and reassess our true desires before the illusion of endless time runs out. For our time is limited, and it is never guaranteed. We can lose our lives to illness, human intervention, or war. If we fail to recognize our realities and actively work towards making them better for ourselves and others, we remain trapped in a cycle of keeping our heads down, only to look up when it's far too late.
Marie, what are you doing?
Has that ceiling ever made you want to cry?
What ceiling? Get back to work.
But as usual, I would like to know what you think. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Not to be morbid or anything, but genuinely, what would you do if you found out you only had 3 weeks left to live? Please remember to be respectful in the comments. Disagreeing with someone doesn't mean you have to disrespect them. This will be one place.
See ya!